hip hop got to stop doing that. Like, only when dudes pass, that's when they get honored and stuff like that. Fat Man Scoop, that's the way a hip hop DJ sounds.
Yeah.
You got $100 bill, put your hands up.
When he starts going lower and you still ain't got
You
that,
like,
if you got $20, what if I got 18 though?
I had a friend of mine ask me, how is your heart doing?
That's deep.
Like, what preparation do you have when this is a business that's been around longer than you've been alive?
And as the older we get, the more walk it off ain't gonna just work.
Yeah, because it's going to walk with you.
Yeah. Oh.
In our lives, right? Our uncles and our great uncles and our grandfathers who their whole lives was about working.
Yeah.
And not working easy jobs. Not jobs where they just, you know what I'm saying? Like working labor jobs. And their sense of pride came from, I put the food on the table every single week.
Absolutely.
And I don't even get enough opportunity to enjoy the home
Right.
that I'm paying for.
Ooh.
And I feel like that trickles down to a lot of us to where
DIY.
DIYers, first of all, welcome here to this particular story. Today I'm joined with my guy, Mark W. Official. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, sir. How you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm glad you're able to come down here and we finally get some reaction videos and be on this side of things. It's unfortunate that it comes first with some really unfortunate news that by the recording of this happened just today. Rich Homie Quan, man. Shout out to Rich Homie Quan.
As I pulled up, in fact, my friends was letting me know that happened.
Bro, like it literally, like I had another story that we were going to cover, but you know, Rich Homie Quan recently lost his life in Atlanta. The details are still a little bit sketchy, and I don't want to report on things, especially when there's no official word on what exactly happened. But first of all, condolences to his family. I always think about the families when these artists, anybody passes away. But when these artists pass away, I think about more so that than their impact just on music. But this comes not that far after the passing of another, well, I should say a legend in this space. I think Rich Homie Quan was still kind of establishing his footing. Definitely an Atlanta legend for sure.
Yeah.
But Fat Man Scoop, who also lost his life. And these are both fairly at young ages, especially when you think about what the life expectancy is. You said it's closer to what now?
Close to 80. I want to say at max, like for black men specifically, since we're here with it, I think it's about 82. I think that's the max.
Right.
We're going about between 75 and 82.
And we're in a time where, you know, we have access to more information and things of how we can maintain our health. And, you know, I want to get into the details of, you know, both their situations, because I think there's a lot of important stories that we as black men and black women and just Asian folks in this genre in general should be having more conversations of, because everybody is kind of like reporting right now the salacious stuff and the rumor stuff. I save that for them. This to me is really about, you know, what kind of things can we learn from it, and also where there's signs that we're out here. Now, I want to start this video off with, first of all, a clip here from the legend KRS-One, where he's speaking specifically to hip-hop's habit of forgetting about people who have had legendary contributions and moving on, and then when they pass away, you know, becoming...
It's all of a sudden a huge celebration.
Break it down. What you see the same thing as well?
I do. And we see it more so, and we're gonna keep seeing it, unfortunately, because of our age range and where we're at. It's a praise, discard, and then once they leave, then it's like, oh, you remember they did this? Oh, remember they did that one? And I think in this clip you're gonna play it. We don't do a good enough job in celebrating their contributions while they're still here to smell them. And that's why I like platforms such as this one and others that do a really good job of making sure, or Drink Champs, for example.
Yeah.
Make sure I give you your flowers while you can still smell them.
So here's what KRS-One basically had to say about the passing of Fat Man Scoop. This is on September 3rd. He says he calls out hip-hop for only honoring rap icons after they die. Listen to this.
On the radio, you know, that energy should be on the radio. It's a shame that now that he's passed it, we're talking about him in this way. Hip-hop got to stop doing that. Like, only when dudes pass, that's when they get honored and stuff like that. We should have been looking at Fat Man Scoop when his career was blowing up. He never got played on those stations and nothing. Only DJs that knew would throw his music on.
Let's break it down there first.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to see another clip where he's talking about, like, another health scare that he had in 2023, that being Fat Man Scoop. There's a video here that was that surfaced on YouTube, but he's in a hospital bed literally talking about kind of how he's working himself to the bone to provide and pay his bills.
That's
and
deep too.
All I can think about is, bro, like, we know the impact that he had. Bro, I've never heard a voice that simultaneously made me feel happy and Fat Man Scoop, but then also broke at the same time. You got $100 bill, put your hands up.
When he starts going lower and you still ain't got
You
that,
like,
yo,
you got
if you got
$20,
what if I got 18 though? Like,
you got a $1 bill? I got you. So, I mean,
as long as nobody asks for water.
nobody, yeah, we're good, right? But I look at that and I'm like, man, he's had a contribution on culture. He's had a contribution on music. He's been a part of some songs that will forever be played, especially during our lifetime.
Oh yeah.
You would think that we would be better prepared or better equipped to take care of it, but we know how these labels act.
I mean, look, we were talking about this off air. It's like, remember what the labels are designed for. They're not designed for you. They're designed to recoup their bottom line. And unfortunately, they don't care. When you're not viable to them anymore, they're going to discard you.
Yeah.
And I think back to KRS-One's point, it's up to us, like, to really live. Like, why are we forgetting that he has so many countless contributions and leaving him to the wayside and then get depressed? Like, oh no, he left.
He was here.
He was here.
He
though.
was here and within reach. He probably would have
And still
responded back
working.
to you and would have been very grateful to hear that. I know the feeling of feeling like you've been forgotten.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Just
mean,
in general. We know it as human
Yeah.
beings, right? I can't imagine what it's like on that level for you to be like, yo, I was that voice.
Right.
Nobody
Right.
else could do what I'm doing. Like Charlie Wilson got a voice that nobody else can sing like. He had a voice.
That nobody got you amped quite like him.
First, not honor the people while they
Other genres suck. They don't give a we don't give a f- about them.
Say what you want about KRS. He gonna always bang for hip hop for sure.
Look, KRS. A lot of my big homies, and that's another conversation, but a lot of my
Sure.
big homies is cool with KRS, and even they get sick of him sometimes.
Yeah,
He's
bro,
so hip hop.
He
like,
is. I never forget. It was one. I forget what DVD it was. He was like, every year I look at the top 10 rappers and I make a diss song for them.
Look, I heard that too, and that made me go, you know what? Say
Really
what you
about
want.
this. You really about
I'm not about to get dismantled by KRS
Nah,
One.
leave that alone. Don't you diss me and educate me in the same breath.
Okay, so all these other genres, really. Okay, hip hop runs this whole f***ing music industry.
I like that
So
point.
if we don't get it right with hip hop, I'm sorry reggae, I'm sorry jazz, I'm sorry gospel, I'm sorry rock. We're not gonna get it together with nothing. And until people always putting hip hop down, these other genres putting hip hop down when we rising up. And that's what I'm saying. These other genres, they could do that to their artists if they like. We don't fuck about them. We can't do that to our artists,
That part.
okay? Fat Man Scoop, that's the way a hip hop DJ sounds.
Yeah.
So dudes on the radio talking about they number one for hip hop, you should take a listen to the real dude
Come on.
who is number one for hip hop.
Khaled could never.
That was a Power 106. Somebody else
Hey.
Power 106 right there.
Hey,
Home of hip hop.
hey.
The point that I like that he's making is real valid in this is that, you know, why is that always the first question that gets asked when we're asking about things that are specific to hip hop? You know, well, how can we mirror these other genres that are typically, I think, more so occupied by, you know, Caucasian artists? And it's like, why can't we be more like that? And it's like, that is not the all the end all
And that's
of our
not
own
us.
moral compass. Like we should stand on our own and say, you know, respect to them and what they do, but we're not catching up to them.
Yeah.
We're establishing that that's not how we do our people.
Right.
So I like that he made that point.
And it's poignant that he did that because it reinstates the idea of really which is one of the 5 pillars he talks about within hip hop, which is the entrepreneurship piece that a lot of people forget. Yes, we always know about the four elements, but that 5th, entrepreneurship, doing for self. And if we are really going to embody doing for self, why do we seek validation in these other art forms really that are just not as original as, of course, the argument can be made that hip hop is nothing but a sample based. Get out of here with that. But
Right.
hip hop being the most original but outside of jazz, the most original American art form that we have right now.
Yeah.
So of course we're gonna set the tone, and we should set the tone. And why not be the example for these other genres? Like, we're not gonna let our greatest fall by the wayside. I
That
think that's
part.
definitely something to capitalize on for real.
That part, and I definitely want to get into more details of you know, what they said actually happened to the brother, because 54 is still was it 54?
It was 50. Let me double check, but I think it was 54.
Definitely in the 50s, and I just feel like, you know, for
That's young.
it's young, especially when you've lived a life that is very different from the average human being, and you've seen things that most people will never experience in their life. With that said, let me go ahead and kind of dig a little bit more into this story here. This is provided by CBS News, who reported on his passing. Rapper Fat Man Scoop dies after collapsing during
56.
Yeah, 56. Connecticut show at the age 56, still so young.
Still.
Rapper Isaac Freeman III, known professionally as Fat Man Scoop, has died after collapsing on stage during performance in Connecticut. We would not be playing that clip. I cannot stand when people start playing these clips over and over again. Like, it's weird.
What are you talking about when he actually collapsed on stage?
Yeah, like-
that really bothered me the night it happened, because it happened on the 30th,
Yeah.
right? The night it happened, like I saw clips of like Fat Man collapsing on, like, yo, what?
And then repeat the whole
We wanna
video
see
again.
that?
I can't imagine seeing one of my loved ones and then reliving that every time somebody retweets it.
Bruh. One of my homeboys passed later. I told you about that, but
Yeah.
there was a news clip of the article, and they showed scenes of the of thing, and people were sending it to me, and my homegirl hit me up, said, you better
Don't
not
open up none of those.
You better
Yeah.
not open it up. So I can only like, that's me, and that's
Yeah.
not in the limelight. I can only imagine, because you're in the limelight, you gotta see, and your family member is, people are capitalizing.
It's crazy, bro. The rapper was performing at the Hamden Town Center's Park on Friday when he experienced a medical emergency, according to Hamden Mayor Lauren Garrett. He was transported to a local hospital via ambulance. A video from the concert showed Scoop hyping up the crowd at Hamden's Green and Gold Party just moments before the collapse. After he collapsed, another performer could be seen leading the crowd in prayer as a group of people huddled around the rear of the stage.
I didn't realize they got into prayer that quick.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, but it must have been a serious situation that they could see.
Yeah.
He did not provide, so basically his tour manager confirmed the death but did not provide any information about what caused or collapse. I saw somewhere, I don't want to throw any rumor stuff, I think it's insensitive, but I saw something along the lines of heart attack. But you know, that would not surprise me, only because like there's a lot of, especially black men in hip hop, who get to their 50s and experience that. Now, you know, I want to shout out my guy Epic, man. My guy Epic sent me a message, and this was kind of shortly after. And this wasn't about him, but he was just saying something, and I want to relay this message, and I want to get your thoughts on it because, you know, he's not somebody that's on the internet, and I'll be telling him, I'm like, bro.
Yeah, I hardly see him active. Well, no, let me say that again. He'd be sending me emails.
Yeah.
His emails are nonstop.
for sure.
But as far as like active online, no. I don't see him that engaged.
Man, and he says some things that I was like, man, this needs to be shared with people. He said this, and this is, I think, is a more generalized statement, because he's asking me. He's like, make sure that I'm prioritizing my health. First message was, we gotta remember to take care of ourselves completely too. Make sure we get our health to as close as to 100% as possible, or it all is temporary. He said that's what I'll be thinking about. I forget how old I am sometimes. Make some time for it, especially oral health. That shit's the gateway to destruction. It's the cause of all the problems. He says, yeah, if you think about it, it's where everything enters. Tomorrow, when you're eating food, plaque and blockages in your arteries come from bad oral hygiene, and black people suffer the most from that. He said, that's the health care we neglect. All of our OGs missing teeth and having heart attacks in their 50s. That was something that when I read it, it was like a lot of connections that I started to see. And, you know, a lot of that stuff is because of the, you know, the lack of development in certain hygiene at a certain generation, but there's so much access to now. What is some of your initial thoughts when you kind of hear that?
So I've had old heads, let me not say old heads, but elders of mine pass away because of a lack of attention to their health, and not because they weren't feeling well,
Right.
but because they simply just didn't go to get checkups because they decided, and I think it's that generation. Fat Man Scoop is obviously removed 10 years from that generation, but still, it still remains. There is a stigma of not trusting hospitals, not trusting.
That's a huge one.
You know what I mean? Not trusting, and for good reason. You know, there are, you know, you can go down the lineup of history.
Malpractice exists.
Malpractice.
Sure.
Look, I have a sister-in-law. We I think the lawsuit didn't go through, but she and I don't want to get too public with this, but we had big issue with how they handled her pregnancy and things that could have been avoided if they had done the proper checkups. But to that point, we have to be in those hospital rooms to make sure that we're getting the proper care that we need. The piece of oral care is definitely, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Only because when I was younger, I took pride in going to the dentist.
Yeah.
And they would tell me like, you don't have any cavities, and I'm like, oh,
So I'm
gonna try to
must be
keep this.
overachieving. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to keep this up for next time. So like,
Right.
okay, gummy bears was my thing. You couldn't tell anything gummy. I'm getting that candy. So I remember one summer I went super ham with it, and I had so many cavities that getting the dental work. My mom was like, you ain't touching candy for the rest of the summer.
Oh, wow.
Because no, it was serious. I had so many. So with that being said, I started to understand like, okay, I can't eat this because it's gonna do something to my teeth. So I really got into flossing. I don't go as hard as I should on my wife, but you know, brushing my teeth every morning, make sure I floss. I keep floss. I don't have any today, but I keep floss picks
you
with
just
me
because of that.
It's a nervous habit at this point. Whenever I get nervous, if I have a toothpick, I'm going inside my gums and making sure that I know somebody's gonna say something about that. I'm going inside my gums to make sure I get
Not
things
today.
quick. No, not right now. We can do that on the next segment. But making sure we pay closer attention and being mindful of my wife is really good at this. When something is off, she's like, I don't like the way this feels. And you know, for us, it's like, you just need to stretch or something, or it'll pass.
Walk it off. That's
you
what
know,
they used to tell us.
walk
Yeah,
it off.
yeah.
That's a big thing.
That's a big one.
And as the older we get, the more walk it off ain't gonna just work.
Yeah, because it's gonna walk with you.
Yeah. Oh, you might have to hit the button.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth. And
Shout
I'm
out to
gonna
my
tell
guy, Mason86. He was here talking about the same thing about prioritizing health. Shout out to my guy. With that said, I want to kind of get into this video here. This is a video that was re-released a few days ago, but this was actually from a clip in 2023 when Fat Man Scoop had another health scare. And, you know, this whole thing is not about being preachy. This really is about if I got to sacrifice a video so that I can get a message out there. And honestly, it's not even just about getting a message to you on a pedestal. I'm saying these things out loud to reinforce
right.
that I need to do these things as well.
Something you can look back on and be like, oh, I didn't do. Got it.
And accountability is a thing too. So, but here's Fat Man Scoop speaking about some health issues he had while participating in this profession that he has. So check this out.
And fix it. And I went off to Singapore and did what I had to do. But the reality of the situation was I was on that foot way longer than I was supposed to, you know, trying to pay off bills and do things and get right and stuff like that. And it caught up to me. And I went to see my doctor, Dr. Emilio Puzo. And my doctor, Dr. Puzo, he's not only my doctor, but he's like my friend too, literally, legit. Like, I love him, like he's my guy. To the point where he's like, yo, I'll come pick you up from the hospital, I'll take you home, you can stay with me.
Wow.
Like that kind of friend. And
I ain't got friends today.
you know, he looked
You feel
at
me?
the-
I
he
ain't got no
looked at
doctor like
the-
that for sure.
He looked at the toe and he was like, look, bro, here's the deal. I was in Dubai last Thursday, and he's you know, I went on Wednesday before I took off, and I landed in Dubai on Thursday. When I went to his office, I took X-rays, and he called me when I was in Dubai. He was like, yo, listen, bro, where are you? I said, I'm in Dubai. He said, listen, man, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm gonna make it very simple for you right now. You don't even go home. Go right to the emergency room, admit yourself, and show them what's happening. Because he took a X-ray, and basically what it was I had a big infection in my toe, and
Man, it starts as very
it was
minor
so
things.
bad that they could have taken my toe off. So it's like, all right, cool. Now I'm over in Dubai worrying my ass off. I'm like, yo, man, you know, what part of the game is this? I can't perform with missing toes. Like, you can't do that. I run around, I jump, I do my thing. Like, there's no way that I can do that. And I actually went home on the Sunday because I told him, I said, yo, bro, I have no clothes, I have no nothing. He said, man, go home on Sunday, but be on the first thing smoking to New York on Monday.
Wow.
So I did that, and I got here, and I went into the, you know, I admitted myself into the emergency room. My ex-wife, Dana, the mother of my kids drove me to the hospital. And I'm not a hospital guy because I know.
You just said it.
Yeah.
You just said it.
There it is. I think, well, I mean, I don't want to cut you off.
No, you
but-
good. I was going to ask you your thoughts.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you
no,
good.
my
Yeah.
thoughts as I'm watching this, because the first thing he says, like, I need to be able to, and I think that is something that's taught to us. That mentality, that survival mentality, we have to survive, and less emphasis is put on thriving, because
How do you ever turn that off?
that's
When you come up in survival,
That's a
how do you
great
turn it off when it's like, actually, if you're okay living, I'm not saying it's a situation, but I've had this conversation with Epic. Like, if you're okay, if you can get yourself humble enough to live below your means and say, maybe I'm not where I was at,
right,
but living this will give me the peace of mind to be here for, my family and all these different things.
Right.
And he's telling me this. He's like, you got to be prepared to make those adjustments, because especially in the field we're in, it's so unpredictable.
very unpredictable, and to have those safety nets in place.
Right.
And I think we as Black people are so scared to look as though we're lower than, so afraid of the optics that maybe they're gonna think, I'm slipping. Like, it's one of the biggest things. Like, hey, bro, you slipping. Like, you kind of messing up right now, and we don't ever want to be perceived as lesser than we once were.
And I can think of even like older Black men and that in our lives, right? Our uncles and our great uncles and our grandfathers, who their whole lives was about working.
Yeah.
And not working easy jobs, not jobs where they just, you know what I'm saying? Like working labor jobs. And their sense of pride came from, I put the food on the table every single week.
Absolutely.
And I don't even get enough opportunity to enjoy the home
Right.
that I'm paying for.
Ooh.
And I feel like that trickles down to a lot of us, to where here he is at 56. And I'm not saying that's in any way too old to be out here touring, but I think about things like the heat.
Oh.
I think about things like when
you
you
think about the heat out here.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's part right. But when you're thinking about like the effect that it has on your body, maybe mentally you're like, I'm still the vibrant 25, 30-year-old, but your body is like, no, a lot has changed over the last X amount of years, and you out here doing these things. I was unhealthy at 20. I can't imagine what it's like.
Oh, you get reminders, and it's like I said, going to bed at 2 a.m. At 22, that was a thing. Like, I'm fine.
Yeah, for sure.
But going to
It's a
bed,
sense of pride in a weird way too.
It's a weird flex. And I look back at not to add on to that. I look back on my music, and I hear how I'm like, oh yeah, Team No Sleep.
Same here.
What? Sleep when you dead. That was
I made
a point
a song called 21/7. My dumb ass. Because I'm working 21 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You want to die, Curtis?
It's a flex.
What are we doing?
And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing like that is not the flex I thought it was.
No, it's not.
Because for my parents looking at me, like, I'm sure that at my age they were like, yeah, that sounds like
It's not sustainable.
that sounds like a headache. That sounds like you're groggy all day. So I can only imagine that at 56, well, here 54, that you're now at a place where I can't afford to not do this.
I've kind of put myself in a position where this is my job, and if I don't perform at a high level,
Yeah.
that may affect my ability to provide next year.
Ooh, and here's another point. Your audience, not giving your audience a chance to grow up with you. And I think a lot of the young kids, the younger artists, I mean, I say kids because I have a tendency to do that. The younger artists are not thinking about their own growth in this space, because had we thought about, okay, will I be able to keep on dancing and hopping around the stage like this in my 50s?
Come on.
Had I thought about it back then, I was like, okay, well, let me allow for some room for them to realize, like, after a while, I ain't gonna be able to jump like I used
Let's
to.
sonically start to change some things. So that I like Travis Scott is not going to be doing what Travis Scott is
No.
doing in his 50s and 60s.
I hope not. I don't want to see that.
If he wants to be here.
Right.
And shout out to everybody in the chat, basically also adding to that, like the cost of medical, right? Like L. Buse just said, add the extreme cost of care and the documented historical medical abuse to that. And it makes sense that many of us are afraid of hospitals. So it's
we
like
mentioned that.
rocking a hard place. I pulled up this article here about, man, B King, man. It's still something that it's just, it still bothers me. It did just happen recently, but my brother passed away at 39 from pulmonary embolism. So, which is pretty much, I have the here, it's a blood clot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that reminds me of my uncle. My uncle passed. I mean, it can happen anywhere in the body. That blood clot can travel. So my uncle ended up having an aneurysm because it traveled up.
Wow.
But it's the things like this, and I'm all respects due.
Sure.
Things like this can be I don't want to say easily avoided because some stuff is not detectable, but some stuff can be detected long before it becomes a problem where now I'm reactive instead of proactive.
But see, and that's what I'm thinking of right now is this is why we're talking about the things we're talking
Yeah.
about, because we got to go from someplace from just talking about it to actually acting on it. And here I am being the one that's championing it, and I got a stand-up desk that I damn near don't stand up
you
at.
just used it like a couple weeks last week.
Yeah, but that was me being conscious of things.
Yeah.
Like, I thought about this, and not even to make it about myself, but I look at this as a blood clot, and I'm like, that was the same thing Heavy D dealt with when he was on the plane. Because those long 18-hour trips, your legs are sitting up
Your
there
blood's not
crunched up, your brain's not circulating, maybe you have a little bit of weight on you, and all these different things are adding to when it's like you said, some of this stuff is, if you're proactive about it, if it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about that.
But if there's things that you're conscious of, I think sometimes, that is the lesson that we can learn from these situations. And that, man, if it is something like that, man, stretching and making sure that you're active.
Yeah.
So much of being a producer, so much of being an artist is sitting down, and Courtney just said blood clot within the lungs.
Yeah,
Sitting
that
down,
too. That too.
Smoking, being in environments where there's not a whole lot of air circulating, fresh air.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things in these environments. Drinking don't help that
Because we
situation.
just get used to the fact that this is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, passing it down generation to generation, we seen our older homies doing that, and they fine, but not thinking about. By the way, side note, you're gonna make this conversation really difficult for me and my wife later on when she sees this, and she goes, "See, I told you, you need
Same
to get
here.
checked up on."
Same here, because my wife gonna say the same thing. You talking all that, but I done told your ass to go to sleep, and it's like, I gotta get it, baby.
and that's the thing. It goes back to your point of how do we break this cycle, and I think it just starts with setting a better example to those under us, and really holding ourselves accountable. So I'm gonna look back at this and be like, damn, I didn't, because I have a regimen right now where every hour, and you'll see my alarm go off a few times. Every top of the hour, I'm gonna go down to my garage. I'm gonna knock out 5 minutes of jump rope and then stretch. All right, get back to work, because most of my job is sitting down, like you were saying. That's all I do all day.
Yeah, and they say that's worse than smoking, bro.
It is.
That takes. I think it either takes off more or it rivals more years. I found that when I was researching stand-up desk, it could take off the same amount of years, if not more, than smoking if you have a sit-down job.
Ooh.
Juwan, it's time to let go of the things they said and did to you. Not only do I want you to forgive these people, but I want you to thank them for helping you become who you are right now. I mean, look at you now.
I'm trying to find love for my enemies, but I am not feeling their energy. I don't want nothing but inner peace, but that's when they come with the trickery. I don't know why they not feeling me. I don't know why they be killing me. How do I get to these beefs? A lot of these niggas be finicky. It's something I noticed this morning when holding my phone and talking to Willie B. There's too many narcissists around me, always trying to belittle me. I had to sit down and put that on my notes, like how you didn't think of this shit. What if instead of humility, niggas is looking at you like a bitch? What if they don't want to build? What if they looking at you like a lick? You don't know how I'm built, I should beat your ass on the strength, nigga. I gotta admit, it might have been me, I gave him the wrong pitch. Out of my own lips, and that's why you don't code switch. I'm tired of living my life like a book I never chose to write. I'm looking at my demons, looking at me, looking to toe the line. I might just still be stuck inside my head if I took your advice. Instead, I'm shining bright right in your face, bitch. Good night. Look at me, look at me, look at me now, ooh. Look at me, look at me, look at me now, ooh. Look at you, look at you. You got an attitude, I'm looking right past you. I'm in my bag, fool.
And add to that, I was definitely a smoker for about 15 years, bro.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so we,
I vape now, so that's even worse. But
there's things we can do, and I think part of that is starting up the conversation first. So, man, rest in peace, of course, to
absolutely
to Fat Man Scoop and to B King. So this is another one today, bro. Like it's getting absolutely ridiculous, bro, because this is an incredibly young age. And once again, I want to stress, when it is our time, and I don't want to over sensationalize anything. But Rich Homie Quan, I got on my timeline today, and I'm like, ain't no way. Like, this gotta be like a prank. This ain't no damn way.
I'm always quick to looking at my I go to my little checks whenever I see such and such dead ad. I'm like, let me check.
Yeah,
like,
before, because everybody do pranks and all of that stuff.
Right.
But it says Rich Homie Quan has been confirmed by many different sources on today of the recording of this. Influential Atlanta rapper passed away at 34. Rich Homie Quan, influential Atlanta rapper, dead at 34, appeared first on Consequence, a platform. Rich Homie Quan, the influential Atlanta rapper, best known for his hits Young Thug collaboration Lifestyle, has died at 34 years old. Fellow Rich Gang member Jacquees and frequent collaborator Boosie Badass were among the first to share the news, with TMZ later confirming his death. Rumors of an overdose spread online, but no cause of death has officially been reported.
Right.
I'm not going to take that until we know it's official. It goes on to say that Rich Homie Quan scored his first Billboard Hot 100 entry with Type of Way. Feel some type of way.
Dude, 5 years after we were born. Like, that's...
Do you remember when you first heard him too?
Yeah. No, I remember.
Very different. Very
I
different.
remember the
than anybody
first
else that was coming out.
time that song Type of Way, I actually liked. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to because that's, I come, my pedigree. I come from underground battle rap, like
bars.
I
some type of way found it because it was still like slick. It was still like witty.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoyed. Like it was different.
Yeah.
It did have a lot more melody than I was used to, and I was like, you know what, this I'm Lifestyle took me a while to get used to. I ain't gonna lie about that. But some type of way, I was like, okay, if this come on, I'm not gonna be mad at it. I'm not gonna be one of those people where all of a sudden I'm now like, oh, I've always been a fan.
Yeah.
I gotta keep it 100. I was not the biggest Rich Homie Quan fan. I'm proud of any black person that's getting on I'm Issa Rae. Are they black? I'm rooting for them.
Right.
So I'm proud of anybody that's seeing success. I'm not always gonna champion the way they go about doing it, i.e. like a Sexy Red or something like that.
Right.
But when it comes to getting your money, I ain't gonna stand between you and
your
that.
money.
Get your cash. So I'm not gonna sit here and say I was the biggest Rich Homie Quan fan.
Right.
But I definitely was aware of what his influence was.
And this leads me to another conversation that is an extension of this title, which is this habit that it seems that the culture has, and some of it is not necessarily conscious, but this habit of celebrate, forget when you quote unquote fall off,
right,
and then celebrate again in a way that person probably could have benefited from
while they were still here. Bruh.
Maybe they make different decisions if they know that there's a demand here for what you're doing. Like, I can't imagine the amount of stress. I don't want to put like situation, because you never know what leads somebody to whatever happens eventually in passing away at 34. But there's some videos up here. We're gonna watch one of these videos from the Bootleg Kev channel where he's talking about possible depression after dealing with the labels.
We talked about that.
But what was kind of the thoughts we were saying with that?
So, and I don't want to get ahead of the idea, but when he brought up the idea of depression, that adds to a narrative that probably doesn't need to be put on top of that,
right,
because it could be misconstrued. Now, as we gonna see, is like the depression part does play a key factor into possible reasons for his death. Again, we're not going to confirm that, but at the same time, when you add that without knowledge to the situation, like we as artists, we get depressed. We go through low moments, certainly at certain times of the year, whatever triggers you. But to attribute his way of going out, which is speculated, to a depression adds to a narrative that we don't necessarily need to champion this early. Like, we don't know anything.
It just happened. It just happened. And also, too, I mean, the flip side of that, just playing kind of devil's advocate, is that even if it is the label situation and what that is, that kind of is a narrative of kind of a common stereotype amongst us as black men, that we don't talk about that kind of stuff, right? Or like, I shouldn't say a stereotype, but like a taboo conversation it is, where we don't want to talk about when we're going through a depression. I feel like our generation, and I feel like a lot of the younger ones are starting to be more open about it.
Starting.
The
ones younger are definitely open.
Yeah, in a way that we weren't ever
never
open
were.
For.
And in ways still uncomfortable being. Sure. I think Rich Homie Quan falls into that too.
Yeah.
Because he's not but 5 years younger than us. So it's like there's still a sense of uncomfortability talking about, even with my wife, like when it comes, she asked me, how are you feeling? And I tell her, my answer is, this is how my day went. This is what happened. I'm telling her facts. As opposed to, like, that didn't answer the question. She said, how do you feel?
Fam,
I still wrestle with that.
I had a friend of mine ask me, how is your heart doing?
That's deep.
And I wasn't ready for that. Like,
That's deep.
I was having a cool ass day at a festival.
Yeah.
Said, as a friend, how is your heart doing?
You asked that at the wrong time. That could make you boo-hoo.
I was ready to break, because it was like I hadn't gave it any acknowledgement, at least as much as that moment as I did, because it was like, what do you mean how my heart is doing? And it's like the fact that I hadn't checked in with that almost broke me down.
Yeah.
And every time I see her, I'm like, yo, that is a question that, as crazy as it sounds, I appreciate you asking me that, because it made me have to check in with myself in a way that I hadn't. I'm on the go. I'm working. I got responsibilities. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. But
the
when
mental
she
tap
said
ins
that,
with yourself.
how is your heart? And I said, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I really couldn't tell you. So,
and it's really that honest answer is like, I don't know. That is the part that causes the depression. Because I can't pinpoint. I couldn't tell you. Like, my wife would be like, well, what do you want to do? Like,
I don't know.
I'm not even trying to be facetious with you. I really have no idea. And
your
that
guess
is
is
what,
just as good as mine.
And we've gotten into arguments about that, where it's like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And it's that self wrestling match that's going on that you're bringing out is kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with, and again, our generation, our age range is just now getting to the point where it's like, okay, I can acknowledge it. I don't necessarily want to deal with it,
but at least we have the acknowledgement of it. Even said that kind of question from one of my Navy brothers is why I started therapy, man. Shout out to you, bro.
Hey, therapy is one of the biggest things I want to advocate for people. Like, shout outs to you, bro.
And let's expand on that after this one. So this is a clip where Rich Homie Quan is talking about, the pressures, and I think that's something people forget about, is that there is the front facing, imagery of things, right?
Right.
When it comes down to it, these folks take off these Gucci shades, they take off these chains, and they look at their bills the same way and say, why in the hell is my electricity bill this high this year or this month?
What happened? We questioning.
We got
all kind of stuff happening here.
You feel me? Like, hey, which one of y'all bought a 4-wheeler? Why you spend this much?
I'm coming out next Friday.
We're just reloading it next Friday. Family moolah now, but opposed to music, man, I'm doing good though, man.
That's good.
I'm doing good mentally. You feel me?
You happy?
Oh, for sure. Definitely happy, man. Independent now, so
that's important.
Yeah.
I always felt like, because for a while you were I forget what was the major label you've been putting stuff out with? Was it Capitol Motown?
Yep, Capitol Motown.
I always felt like you were kind of built for the independent shit.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. But at the same time, throughout my 10-year run, I definitely done saw every side of the sport, independent, TIG, label, so.
Yeah, because the thing, it's a game, Eric. For people who don't know, there was like a point in time where you would kind of cool off, but it was also because you weren't allowed to release music.
For sure that. Yeah. So when I couldn't release music, man, they just really put a dark cloud over my head. You know what I'm saying?
My question is, when they put you in that situation where you're not able to do your job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you can still record, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do the thing that keeps your name active in a very trendy genre. Mainstream rap is a very trendy. You gotta be fast moving. You gotta be on the move, or people are looking like, if you're not on the move, they're looking at you like you're on the decline.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So
I'm in that right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can't imagine the pressure that it has when you know that you have new expenses, because in your mind you said it's up from here. New home, new cars, new people that you providing for.
Yeah, people
Mama
don't
didn't
really
quit her
think
job,
about
and
that up from here part. Like, it's all up from here. Like, everything is up from here.
The price of everything for sure.
Prices up.
So I can't imagine what that's like, where it's like, well, he should have been wiser with his money. It's easy to say from a pedestal when you've never sat in that fucking chair.
And I agree. And it's easier to say that when you've never seen that much money. Because a lot of people like this are not, especially like Rich Homie Quan, people who don't come from a place where a lot of money is hand-to-hand contact. And I'm not talking about illegalities now. Let me clarify that. Like, there are people who partake in illegalities and have seen that much money transferred. I'm just talking about, if you've never seen that much money in your life and you introduce these new expenses, how do you be ready to be, how are you able to know I need a financial advisor to make sure I don't do these type of business transactions?
Bro, I did a story about this is why I'm hot. Mims.
Yeah.
Mims came in there with that deal that he had on the table. He came in there what he felt like was the best team he could ever have financially. They were ready. They were ready for like all the loopholes. Still got done dirty.
You don't know what's gonna happen.
Like, what preparation do you have when this is a business that's been around longer than you've been alive?
They could put traps in place that you won't even know to be ready for.
You got people out here who say these things, and you can't even get you can't even get your job to explain all the expenses they taking off your paycheck.
Right.
You just accept that shit and be like, well, shit is at least it ain't below 1,000. Like but you got the nerve to look at these folks and it's like they've never been in this position, and then you don't know also too how many people may be conspiring against them that are posing as a part of their team. Especially these artists get signed and they get a lawyer assigned to them because they don't have a lawyer already.
How do you know that you need a lawyer to look at a contract?
And do you trust a lawyer that was given to you by the label?
Hell no. Hell no. Look, I've been blessed in this situation. My mom's a lawyer. Like,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. My mom's a lawyer. She's a litigation lawyer at that. So she knows contract law. So I was blessed with like my first couple deals that I got, mostly management deals, indie labels, but the first couple deals I got, I was able to go, hey, Mom, read this for me. And then she was able to tell me like, okay, so, it's a big bar because she was able to tell me like, okay, this is a 2-year contract, 2-year timeline. They have control over your name. What does that mean like that? Like, okay, so if you make any money off top, they're taking this much.
Sheesh.
If they use your name on something, let's say we're done. I decide I don't want to work with you. But for the next 2 years, like anything you make with them, it's theirs. Wow. And then after you leave, they still kind of hold control of your name so the Prince situation, I completely understand because it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna be a symbol.
I'll just be a symbol because y'all can't take that. And the fact that he had the legal prowess or the awareness or the lawyer teams that he hired, the fact that he had that to know, oh, you can't do this if I become the symbol.
Can't do it. And you can't even pronounce it. So here's what's even doper about that situation. You can't even type that on you can't even put that in the contract. People don't even think about that one. Like,
that's crazy.
You can't even write me into the contract.
Yeah.
But to this point, the label giving you a lawyer, all it does is just bend you over and get you ready.
Yep.
Because there will be no Vaseline. With assistance. They'll bend you over nicely, but don't think there's Vaseline coming because it's done.
No,
like, we're going up in there.
Hey, yo.
We're going up in there.
I didn't even want to hear the radio. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Was it like a point in time where you felt like you might have been like kind of dealing with some depression, or you just kind of were like down in terms of just like you're just on the music industry in general?
I would just say depressed, bro. But coming from that situation, from the litigation where I couldn't drop, and that and watching your peers just go up, knowing you can't go up, you know what I mean? But I'm still doing shows, and my heart just wasn't in it no more.
Yeah.
See, I'm sorry, man. I done been around enough brothers like that, and I'm like, I look at that and I say, good question, bad timing.
Yeah.
I'm in the midst of promoting a new project. It seemed that he had coming out. I don't really want to dive too deep into that and plus I know I got ops out here who want to see me saying how much of a depression they're in without me.
There's always that.
I got fans out here who I don't need them to see me as weak, because in my mind, I think if they see me as weak, why would I support that? Oh, he's down bad. I don't want your charity. Like, there's so many things we as artists may be funneling in that situation.
There's so much we're doing. Because all of that, like you just said, we're going through all of these pieces, all of these hoops. I remember the first time I got a little vulnerable on my IG story. I think I was talking, it was maybe 3 years ago. And my homeboy hit my line like, hey, don't do that. Don't talk about that. I was like, well, that's what I'm going through right now. I was like, nah, you look weak.
Wow.
But that's how I'm feeling right now.
Right.
That's how I'm feeling. And at the time, like, my Instagram was just flooded with people that I knew personally anyway, at least the people I knew that were engaging. So what does it matter if anybody else see it? Like, yeah, but you're not really aware who else might be looking at your page and not saying nothing.
Well, and I get where they're coming from, because I know that like that hard-nosed way of looking at life, and you can't walk around here. Like, we can go for some final thoughts, but you can't walk around here feeling like, woe is me if you want to find yourself in a place where you're in a better position. But it's like, if you're at that place, you're at that place. Why not leave the room for growth? So where you say, you know what, next time I feel this way, I may not want to be public with it. I just may want to just talk to my core, my people.
True.
Right? Because that is another strategy in that sometimes you get around people who you say these things. Like Les Brown talked about it. Famous motivational speaker, educator. He was saying, I like him. Man, I love his energy, bro, to this day. He said, people prefer known hells to unknown heavens.
Ooh.
and he would say that is a reason why if you come back from work over the weekend and you're in there having a water break, and they say, "How was your weekend?" If you say, "Man, like it was shitty, bro. Like it was a lot of shit. I was having a terrible." People feel a connection.
Yes,
and they get more excited, like, "Damn, bro, I feel you, man. I'm sorry that's going on. My shit was da-da-da." But let you do the opposite and say, "How was your weekend?" Man, it was the greatest weekend I ever had, man. They almost look at you like you're an alien, like you're crazy for having a great weekend. But that's the fact of the matter, is that most people prefer known hells over unknown heavens, and they treat other people who are operating in unknown heavens like you're foreign to them.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
It's the same concept of misery loves company.
Misery loves company.
Like if I know you're also doing bad, then that gives me, somehow motivates me that I might be doing a little bit better than you.
It's the Jerry Springer effect. Is what I call it.
I like.
You like, my life is bad, but
it ain't that bad.
I ain't fighting over my sister for sleeping with my brother. Like,
I ain't about to fight my uncle because he stole my baby mama from my daddy. Like,
over a chicken wing. Like, some weird Steve Wilkos type shit.
Facts.
Man,
facts.
I want to end on this note, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Man, shout out to the homie Iman. He sent me this because we were talking about it before we got online. But I said I wanted you to send me a message that kind of like gave me your point of view as somebody who's a veteran in this. Obviously, we got a project called Beige EP that's out right now.
Go ahead and
throw the beige.
Let me sport the beige. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
My brother sent me this text, and he said, "In this music industry, it is concerning how frequently artists are offered alcohol and other harmful substances under the guise of taking care of them."
Man, I don't think y'all realize how easy it is. Man, I know this is a side note. I'm sorry to take it away, but I was at a Psycho Realm show. We was opening up for them years ago. When I say we, I talk about Lost Dialect, search them up. Stuff is still available. But as we was on stage, somebody just handed me a blunt. Like, it happens.
That's normal.
That's normal.
Now to add on top of that, he said, "These substances, while presented as a form of support, ultimately contribute to the deterioration of one's health over time. Many members of the infamous 27 Club, 27 years of age, a group of musicians who passed away at the age of 27, likely died as a result of substance abuse. This trend is difficult for artists to recognize due to the normalization and widespread glorification of drugs and alcohol in popular culture." Man, come on.
Yo, that was a bar.
Yeah, and he's in here right now. That
Hey,
right
you sure
there,
you don't rap? You sure he don't want to? He don't want to come up here and freestyle one time?
Nah, he do.
I mean, I know he give you crap about the producer
About
and all
everything.
that, but
let him tell it. He wrote all my lyrics. He said, "I'm saying."
Go ahead, I mean, we can freestyle one of these days. Go ahead,
man. But I mean, what are sort of your thoughts? Because you were kind of talking about the Psycho Realm show that they just passed it to you, and so many things are. So much of the ways that we communicate and we engage in communion with one another in hip hop is through sharing of substances. Yeah. Like if I can smoke one with you, that's people's goal right now. Is if I smoke one with Uncle Snoop or
I'll
Wiz,
be straight. I'll be
straight.
on.
And it's like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to smoke. Like, weed has a lot of medicinal benefits. I understand the culture.
Let's be real.
But
most people is not smoking weed for the medicinal purposes.
They're abusing it like anything else.
Yeah, there are medicinal properties.
Sure.
And I agree with that. But when there isn't a fine line between medicinal and recreation. Like there's a big difference, and there are avenues in which you go down to be able to make sure you're responsibly taking your medicine. And when you're abusing, that's when you become an addict. But it is very easy to get access. A point that and I'm sure Iman can piggyback on is back in the 80s, coke was written into the studio bill. Like I'm so serious. That was a line item.
Studio bill.
In the studio, like when you go, like the labels would go and book your session. Coke was a line item. Like that was part of your budget because they noticed that you can get more work done in a shorter amount of time. That increases productivity. Why not fund that? When we find out there's issues. Coke was also in Coca-Cola, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. My point is, drugs and abusing of those drugs has always been a factor in this society, and I think we're in a epidemic, if you will, where we start to see a lot of opioids and all that. Because now it's not just weed. Weed is It's past that.
That's the surface.
That's
level.
past
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
when we were coming up, we was like, we still had to go in the corner and find somebody sketchy. Like, hey, let me get that little dime bag real quick.
Yeah. You got
can go.
you got a pipe, man, for some weed to smoke this stress.
You know what I'm saying? Stress. I miss stress. I ain't gonna lie to you. That if I at the end of the day, that relieved mine because this stuff that
It
y'all
relieved
got
mine
now,
because it was killing brain
it
cells.
was killing brain cells.
Smoking
but
out of a copper pipe is crazy. Smoking stress out of a copper pipe.
out of an apple is nuts.
That's crazy.
I was wild. But the point is, and I'm like tight on this mic. The point is like we're conditioned to say like this will help you be productive. This will ease the pain. And so to Amon's point, like he's right. A lot of people think they are giving you help because of that medicinal property weed gets. And because of, well, you know, you won't think about it after you hit this. You won't think about it after you take this. Look, I realized early on that I am an addictive person.
Same.
Nicotine's still in
Same
my
here.
system. I can't. And I'm getting hella Cali with this lingo right now. You got me all the way off my platform. Hey, I can't even. I know all about. I can't do nothing out here. But see, Amanda, everybody can lose their addiction. So it's really easy to get caught up in that mindset of this is going to help. This is going to relieve the pain. And after a while, if you're continuing that survivor mentality, well, if I keep on doing this and I take this, Eminem fell victim to it, Michael Jackson fell victim to it, I can remain productive and get the job done and keep everybody fed,
functioning, and
not realize like, damn, I'm gonna end up like James Dean in about 2 years.
I think even zooming out of here, and I want to end on this note, is that also the zoomed out problem there is even beyond the substances. It's in the need to escape. One, escapism is a real thing, and also there's a part of us that abuses what naturally feels like a physically good thing that's happening.
Right.
And when you do that and you don't go through the process of putting off things, putting off pleasure, putting off satisfaction in any regard, it sets your brain up to where you get rewards without doing the work.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what happens to even our spending habits. So it goes deep to the point where we have this money that was given to us and we feel like we didn't earn it. We start to trick it off. The same thing happens to athletes.
Yeah.
Athletes get there and they feel like all I did was catch a football. All I did was shoot the basketball. Like, of course, I'm one of the greatest, but like that's all I really did. And they start tricking off money that they're like, do I deserve this?
Oh, that's a whole. I feel like this is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, we gotta save it because we for sure. But go ahead. I'll let you get the last word on that one. Expand upon that.
So, yeah, I think because it doesn't seem like we're doing anything more than supernatural, and I'm gonna leave it there. Because we're not doing anything more than supernatural, you start to question: do I deserve it? Do I need it? And then once you just allow yourself to get comfortable with I am that, well, then now you've tricked yourself into thinking you ain't got to work no more. And this will always be here because I always have this skill and talent. And you get comfortable. And to hip hop's point, but not hip hop, but more so the industry. Well, you got comfortable. We don't want you anymore. Discarded. And we're only good. Oh yeah, that's right. You did have that hit like 5 years. It's about to get even a shorter timeline, but you had that hit about 6 years ago, right? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh wait, he died last night. All right, let's have a remembrance of him real quick.
Let's run his streams up 3,000%. Because I know Rich Homie Kwan's streams are going crazy right now, which is insane. That's the part where I have
the most issue.
Yeah.
We don't plan for that longevity.
Man.
You don't have a plan for what your music is going to do after you leave. And I just stumbled all that. You don't have a plan for what your music is going to do after you leave.
Yeah.
And that's where the label can capitalize on it. And that's where we, like, direct-to-consumer conversation has to be had.
And they rinse and repeat. DIYers, these are conversations that I'm glad are being had like this. I'm glad that y'all are here, and I'm glad that you are engaging in this. But these are our thoughts. Let me know what you think, DIYers. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.